Today we're going to be making a couple of freezer-ready meals for a busy season in your life, whether that's having a baby like I'm about to have. I wanted to prep some things ahead of time, or maybe it's school starting up, or work is super crazy. Just spending the time now to kind of prep some meals for a couple of hours. That way they're already ready to go. You can put things in the crock pot easily. You can put them in the oven. They're already good and ready for you. You don't have to take the time to assemble or anything like that. So today we're going to be doing that. I got a couple of good recipes for you. I hope that you love this. I hope that you enjoy, and let's get started.
First up, we're going to be making a breakfast casserole. This is one of our family favorites. It's one of our go-tos. And first you saw me just browning some sausage, getting that nice and cooked. We're going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 350 degrees. And then I use about 10 to 12 eggs, just depending on how filling you want your breakfast casserole to be. You'll add in some half and half and some mustard, which seems kind of odd, but it gives it a little bit of a different flavor profile and it tastes really good. Add some salt and pepper to taste and whisk that all up. Then next you'll see me chopping up some biscuits. These are just canned biscuits, uncooked. Kind of dice them up a little bit so they're in small pieces, and once you get them all diced up, then you'll spread them out into your baking dish. Go ahead and spray your baking dish first with some oil spray of some sort and slowly just add in all of your biscuits. Try to pull them apart and cover the bottom of the pan. Once you get all of the biscuits in, you'll go ahead and top it with your ground sausage, and then you'll pour in your whisked eggs on top, and then top it with cheese and put it in the oven. Super easy to make. I usually bake mine for about 30 minutes, and then right around that time I'll go ahead and take it out, kind of cut into the center a little bit to be sure that it's cooked all the way through. I usually have to add it in for about another 5 minutes after that, and then it is good to go. Next up, we're just going to be making one of the crock pot freezer ready meals. First, I'm just going to label my bag with the name of what it is and the directions on how to cook it. That way I don't have to try to write it on there afterwards. This one is super simple, not very many ingredients at all. This is a Dijon maple chicken, and so you're just going to use Dijon mustard, maple syrup, use a little bit of red wine vinegar, and then salt and pepper to taste. I did use about half of the amount of Dijon mustard just because I find it really overpowering sometimes, and I was worried that it would be too much, honestly. So I used about half the amount, and I'll put that in the directions down below. But once you get all this mixed up together, then you'll go ahead and add it into your bag and add your chicken, and it is ready for the freezer. When I'm sealing up my bag, I like to try to get out as much air as possible, so I'll kind of roll it on itself to try to squeeze out as much as I can. And then one trick I like to do is to create a space in my freezer that I can just lay it flat to freeze. That way it just takes up so much less room. If you just freeze it just by throwing it in there, it takes up way too much space. So lay it flat to freeze, and then you can store it however you please. This next meal also is super simple to make. It is a pesto chicken tortellini. You just use a package of tortellini. You actually don't even have to cook it first, which is wonderful. When you go ahead and cook it in the oven later, the steam and everything will cook the pasta. Because tortellini really only takes a couple minutes anyways to boil typically. But you'll add your tortellini into the pan, top it with 2 jars of Alfredo sauce. I go ahead and use rotisserie chicken just because it makes my life a lot easier. And then you'll add in your pesto and your mozzarella cheese. You'll mix all of that together and then you'll top it with your Parmesan cheese and it's ready for the freezer. When I freeze my casseroles or even the breakfast casserole that I made earlier, one thing that I really like to do first is to top it with plastic wrap first. I personally like to use the cling wrap. I think it sticks the best. But you want to get that on there nice and tight and seal it around the edges as best as you can and then top it with the foil afterwards. It'll just create a better barrier in the freezer, that way you don't get any freezer burn. This next meal is another crock pot meal. We actually just made this one the other day. It's one of our other staples that we love to make. First, I'm just going to make the sauce using some coconut aminos, or you can use soy sauce, whatever suits you best. You'll add in honey and ketchup, some garlic, red pepper flakes, basil, and oregano. And that will be your sauce. I will save you the disaster of me trying to mix this up in this small little cup here. I definitely should have used a bigger bowl or a bigger measuring cup because it is like overflowing at the rim. But once you get all that made, then you'll go ahead and chop up all your veggies. You use red potatoes, and then the other veggies in here are just carrots and green beans. I use frozen just because, again, make my life easier. So go ahead and add your chicken to the bag and then add in all your veggies and top it with your sauce, and you're good to go. This next one that we're going to be making is a cilantro lime chicken. Again, super easy. First, we're going to just start by making the marinade. And for that, you're just going to use orange juice, chicken broth, and the juice of 2 limes. So I'm getting that going. This is really great. You could use it for like burrito bowls or something like that. Or I guess if you wanted to like shred it, you could use it inside tacos or nachos. However works best for you. We'll probably use it for burrito bowls. Again, this is another one of our go-tos. I'm trying to stick to tried and true recipes here. So also to the marinade, you'll go ahead and add in some garlic. Again, just trying to make my life as easy as possible here. I'm using just canned garlic. You could certainly use fresh, whatever works best for you. And then some cumin as well. And that's really it for like the spices. Next up, you're going to see me just chopping up some fresh cilantro and adding that to the bag. And that is pretty much it for the marinade. Next, I'm going to go ahead and drain and rinse my cans of veggies here. I have a can of corn and a can of black beans. So I like to drain and rinse those, add them to the bag. And then you'll go ahead and add in your chicken. Next up is a beef and broccoli teriyaki. I realize I have a lot of chicken meals going. They just seem to be, I think, the easiest for crock-pot because you don't really have to cook the meat beforehand, like if you do ground beef or ground turkey, something like that. But this is just some thinly sliced steak, so it'll work great for the crock-pot as well. So first, I'm just going to go ahead and make the sauce. I, again, use coconut aminos, but you can use soy sauce. And this recipe actually calls for brown sugar, but mine was like hard as a rock. So I went ahead and just substituted honey in this as well, just because it's what I had on hand. But to that, you're going to go ahead and add in some sesame oil, some red pepper flakes, garlic, and ginger. I really like to use the frozen ginger cubes, like each cube is 1 teaspoon. Again, making my life easy. You don't have to peel or chop or anything like that. It's just ready to go for you. They have them like this for, I've seen them for garlic, ginger, and some cilantro as well, which is super, super helpful. So anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and add my sauce into the bag, and I pour in a bag of frozen broccoli, again, making my life easy, and my beef on top. And go ahead and mix all of that together. I would probably recommend putting your beef in first because my broccoli was frozen. It kind of got the sauce all like, frozen and stuck together, and it wasn't really mixing around very well, but I think it'll all be fine in the end, no worries. But I would recommend if you were going to make this, probably put in your meat first. It'd probably go a lot easier for you. Last but not least are some energy bites or lactation balls, if you'd rather call them that. I'm making these for postpartum specifically, so that's what I'm going with, but my family loves these all around, but they just happen to be great for boosting milk supply. So first, you can just use some peanut butter. You could even use cashew butter or almond butter if you prefer that. Some oatmeal, which is great for milk supply. Honey and miniature chocolate chips, which I would definitely recommend the miniature over regular size. They just mix in way better. And then for additional milk supply benefits and just energy overall, some chia seed and some hemp seed. And you'll just mix all of that really well together and roll them into about 1-inch balls. You could also make these into bars and just kind of smush them down into a pan, and once they get formed and cold in the fridge, you could cut them into small sized bars if you prefer it that way. So, but I'm just going to do the balls this time, which is what I typically do. And I would recommend that you use like a little bit of coconut oil or something when you are rolling out the balls. I still have never done this. I think about it every time after the fact, but it would make your life so much easier. They do get really sticky with the peanut butter as you're going, and they just get really messy. So I would recommend some coconut oil on your hands, just a tiny bit. That way it won't be quite as messy. But that is really it for this meal prep. I made about 7 things. It'll just kind of get us going. Obviously, we have family and friends who will help us out with all of this, with meals and stuff once baby boy gets here. But I just wanted to have some stuff in the freezer just to have on hand. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.